What if OCD stops here? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you how I changed one simple thing that had a profound effect on me personally after a decade of doing all the known treatments for obsessive compulsive disorder, that nobody was able to tell me that by changing this would completely change my life. Hi, I'm Linda Cullerton, and I've helped over 1,000 people gain long-term relief from OCD using natural practices. So what is this one simple thing that I changed that had a profound effect on OCD for me personally? And that is the breath. Now you may be wondering, why? Because I breathe normally, like I've been doing that all the time and nothing's changed. So I get that. I was in that state too. I spent over a decade in doing known treatments for OCD, challenging the thoughts, trying to problem solve, trying to fix the thoughts, terrified of the thoughts. These intrusive thoughts are intrusive because of one reason only. We're holding so much fear-based emotion in our body. And it was that fear-based emotion that was constantly being activated. I spent a decade of doing this, and I was never guided to change my nervous system, to change the default state of my nervous system using the breath. You see, when we're trying to constantly change OCD using the mind, we're going to be constantly trying to change it using the mind. And that was my experience of having OCD for over a decade. I had done all them techniques. I tried to sit with the feelings. And yes, in the short term, I got some relief. In the moment, I felt somewhat better. But then when I'd be in a situation or I'd be very much triggered, it was like everything that I had learned was completely irrelevant, because the feeling of fear in my body was so real that I wasn't able to sit with that feeling. I was terrified of my feelings. So I had to go and do the compulsive behaviors. The compulsive behaviors for me would have been like a lot of checking online. I would have done a lot of Googling, is this real? Is this really OCD, or is it me? Why am I having these intrusive thoughts? And spend an hour of being absolutely exhaustion in my mind, trying to solve this inner war, really inner conflict inside due to the feelings. And because I spent all my time doing that, that would have obviously reinforced them feelings. I would do like a lot of reassurance checking, asking, is this normal? My close family, and constantly in this cycle over and over again. So some of them treatments gave me short-term relief, but never gave me the long-term relief that I was desperately searching for. And I kept searching. And I'm so grateful that I did, because it was when I was actually teaching at the time and I was training to become a Kundalini yoga teacher that I discovered specific breathwork for OCD that completely changed my life. Now, why breathwork? Breathwork isn't a tool for relaxation. This was actually the tool I actually really needed to change a dysregulated nervous system. Because it's at that level that the nervous system is kind of stuck, you might say, in this default state. That's why no amount of talking about this, no amount of trying to reframe our thoughts, for me personally, did not change that long term. So when I started doing this specific breath work, what was really happening was I was changing my internal state. That fear response you feel when you have these intrusive thoughts, that feeling in your stomach, that feeling in your chest, that constant anxiety, it started to bring that down. Okay, and I'd done this over time. But when I realized I had found something here that I knew shifted it, because it didn't happen overnight. There was days where I thought nothing was changing, but I kept doing the practice, and I'd done the practice over and over and over again, not to try to avoid the feelings, but actually what we're doing here is we're changing our whole internal state. We're learning how to regulate our nervous system. We're learning how to bring a sense of safety back into the body. We're coming out of that chronic state of sympathetic activation where we're always in that state of searching for danger. Our mind has to give us, thoughts, are very fearful thoughts, when our body is constantly in this state. So this breath work is unlike any other. It can completely change your life. This has changed my life, and it's changed hundreds and thousands of people that I have guided. And by the way, I have a course below that if you would like step-by-step instructions, you can check out the description below. So with the breath work, what we actually do is that we're starting to, first of all, change our nervous system, bring a sense of balance into our nervous system. Because when we're treating OCD as being the issue with the mind, we're going to be forever stuck in that cycle. If that worked, I'd be doing a video about that. It didn't work for me. We have to change the internal state. We have to start bringing some sort of a sense of safety back into the body. Now, with this breath work, I'm going to guide you to start doing it yourself. I'm going to guide you how to do it. So first of all, with any breath work, what we're going to do is we're breathing naturally anyway, but we're going to change how we breathe. So when we change how we breathe, we actually have an opportunity there to change the nervous system, because the nervous system is a reflection of the breath. So when we're feeling very anxious, if you get to notice, when we can get to even monitor this, that our breath is going to be very fast. It's not going to be slow. It's going to be very rapid. It could be very shallow. Maybe you have difficulty catching your breath because you're so anxious. When we learn to slow down our breath, we actually start to learn to slow down the nervous system. But with this specific breath, what we do is we breathe only through the left nostril. When we breathe only through the left nostril, we activate a part of the nervous system called the parasympathetic state. Now, when we're in a state of OCD cycle, we're in a state of sympathetic. Our nervous system is very, very active. There's a lot of fear internally. There's a lot of fear in our body. There's a lot of fear in our mind. We have a lot of racing thoughts. Everything's very fast. We have difficulty maybe trying to think rationally, for sure. We go to do these compulsive behaviors because we need to disengage from that feeling, because it's really like survival. It feels like survival. So it's a natural response to do these compulsive behaviors. But as you do this breath work over time, the compulsive behaviors start to become less and less, because the need to actually do the compulsive behaviors is no longer as active. It's no longer relative. It's no longer very much present, because inside has been changed over time. So with this breath, what we do is we're going to breathe through the left nostril. When we breathe through the left nostril, we activate a part of the nervous system, as I said, the rest and digest. We're also going to bring in a breath technique called box breathing. So box breathing really helps to really bring a sense of balance to the body and mind. It really helps to relax and down-regulate the nervous system and bring in a sense of calm and clarity into the body and mind. The body will start to relax, therefore the mind will start to relax. When we get the body on board, the mind will follow. The mind will just naturally, organically follow. So with this breath, we do box breathing. Box breathing is that we're going to inhale, we're going to suspend the breath, gently hold the breath. We're going to exhale through the left nostril, and we're going to gently suspend the breath after the exhalation. So we don't take an inhalation just for a few seconds, okay? This is going to be all done through the left nostril. Now, for anyone starting off doing this, I would recommend starting with 5 seconds. So how this works is you're going to inhale for 5. So each of the elements, each of the rhythms of the breath has to be balanced. So in other words, if you start off doing 5 seconds, you're going to inhale for 5 seconds. You're going to suspend the breath for 5 seconds. You're going to exhale for 5 seconds, and you're going to hold the breath out for 5 seconds. So each element of the breath cycle is balanced. As you start getting used to this breath, you're going to be able to move up. What I mean by that is you're going to move from 5 seconds to 6. And you're going to do 6 for each. So 6 inhale, 6 hold, 6 exhale, 6 hold out. You get used to that, then you're going to go to 7, and so on and so forth. The higher you go in the seconds in the box breathing, the more effect it's going to have. Okay, but you can't just start off, I'm going to go and breathe for 10 seconds each segment. Okay, go where it's comfortable for you. So as you're increasing the seconds, you're going to have more and more effect this is going to have on your nervous system. I'm going to start off with maybe 5 minutes a day and build it up to 31 minutes a day. That's the recommended practice. As you build up to 31 minutes a day, you're going to find that you're going to be able to increase in the seconds more quickly. On average, you will probably take about, say, 3 months to 6 months for you really to be up to like 11, 12, 13. At that stage, the symptoms of OCD is very, very minimal. Life starts to change because we're changing our whole internal system. Can you imagine doing this every day? Every day, making this your daily practice that you go to, regardless of what kind of day you're having. If I'm having a good day, I'm still doing it. If I'm having a bad day, I'm still doing it. A little bit like a roller coaster. It's going to be challenging. There's going to be some days where it doesn't feel like anything's changing. But if you stick to it, and the cumulative effects of doing this every day, you're going to see huge changes in your life. So let me demonstrate the breath for you. So what we do is we sit with a straight spine. Now, first of all, just ensure that when you're doing this, that we're going to talk about the natural rhythm of the breath. That is, when you inhale, your tummy expands like a balloon, and when you exhale, it gets smaller. So just ensure that when you're inhaling, your tummy goes out, and when you exhale, it goes in. It doesn't have to be a big inhale or a big exhale, just that it's slightly moving out, okay, as you inhale and coming in as you exhale. We're going to be doing it through the left nostril. So we take up the right hand, we're going to close the right nostril. We're going to start off with, like I said, 5 seconds. Now, we want each interval to be 5 seconds. So you can count in your head up to 5, or you can use an interval bell, which I like to use as well with people, because that really helps you ensure that it's 5. You don't have to be thinking about trying to count. So use an interval bell, set it that it goes off for every 5 seconds, and you're just going to follow the bell and go along with that. I find a bell on Inside Timer is very helpful. If you go to Inside Timer, there's a timer there, and you can set the interval bell, and there you can guide the breath with just listen to the sound of the bell. But for now, we're just going to do it using counting. So we're going to inhale for a count of 5 through the left nostril only. We're going to hold the breath. Now, when we're holding the breath, we're not like really tensely holding our body. We're just gently suspending the breath. Okay. Then we're going to exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds, counting again. And then we're going to hold the breath out before we take an inhalation. Now, this is the most challenging part of the practice. But as you do this with time, it gets easier. Now, understand that any moment in time, if it feels too much for you, just go back and maybe start with 3 seconds. If 3 seconds is too easy, see how you are with 5. Do not put yourself under strain to do it, okay? It is going to be a bit challenging, but we're never gasping for breath, okay? We're not like trying to breathe so much that we're actually hyperventilating. We're not constricting our breath. So yes, the holding out phase after the exhalation, so we've exhaled, the holding out phase is going to be a little bit challenging, but not where you're gasping for breath. Okay, just understand that for yourself. So what is the long-term effects of doing this practice? Well, again, we're not going to try to change OCD with the mind. We're actually going to go to the root of it all. We're going to go to the nervous system. We're going to start bringing in regulation into the nervous system. As that starts to happen, changes happen. Changes happen very quick. And if you continue to do this regularly, it's going to be a domino effect, and it just gets better and better. Even this practice, breathwork is the medicine we all have within. We all have our breath. We have to learn how to actually use our breath, which shifts our internal state. These practices are profound. They're ancient practices, and there's so much reverence. I have so much reverence for these practices because they have changed my life, but not only me, but also people that I have shared these practices with. Yogic experts even claimed that by doing this specific breath work for 31 minutes a day, for the perfected rate of 15 seconds per breath, for 90 days can eliminate obsessive compulsive. Now, on average, it may take at least 9 months to get to the 15 seconds per interval, but along the way, there's huge changes. Like along the way, even getting up to 8, 9 seconds per breath, 10 seconds per interval will change a lot of things. We don't have to get to the 15. You're going to see huge dramatic changes as you increase in the seconds per interval in the breath. So this has completely changed my life. I'd love to share with you a story about one of my clients. Her name is June. So I just read it here for you. So my name is June. I'm 37 and I've had OCD intrusive thoughts since 23. When I had a miscarriage, I got very depressed and started experiencing intrusive thoughts. I tried everything to stop the intrusive thoughts. I tried psychotherapists, counselling, cognitive behavioural therapy, hypnosis, acupunctures, healers, and anything that I could thought might help. For years, I paid so much money trying so many different things, and when I was out of work, I fell behind on mortgage payments. The intrusive thoughts were 24/7. Even when I slept, I would have them in the middle of the night, and they scared the life out of me. I was constantly on the internet trying to find something to stop the intrusive thoughts, and that's when I found the course, Linda's course. Since I completed the course, I'm a different person. I no longer experience the reaction to the intrusive thoughts. Therefore, I no longer have the intrusive thoughts. I feel so much better, and my life is completely changed due to this. So it's not so much about like we're never going to have an intrusive thought again. That's irrational even to think that. Humans have intrusive thoughts. The difference between having intrusive thoughts and another person is the obsessive nature. That's why it's OCD. That's the obsessive nature around these thoughts. And what gives them that obsessive nature is the emotional reaction we have to them. That's today's video. I really hope you enjoy that.